Just 3 weeks remain here in the World GT Championship, and we have got one more endurance round of the series to take part, and that's happening right here tonight around Watkins Glen for week number 10 of the World GT Championship, brought to you by Coach Dave Academy and by 3M. My name is Paul Smith. Alongside me, as always, is Peter Mackay. And Peter, we're getting down to the crucial stage of the season now. Just 3 weeks to go to decide a champion.
Yeah, this is the business end of the season, isn't it? Here at Watkins Glen, home of, well, one of the most iconic endurance races in the world, the Watkins Glen 6 Hours. Perfectly fitting that we're going here for an endurance round, and who will come out on top? Well, we'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be certainly a challenge for those drivers out there. Slipstream will be key, I think, tonight around this fantastic venue. There you see the Watkins Glen. We're on the classic boots and no bus stop chicane before we head into the carousel, so that's going to be really fun. Next week we head to Hockenheim for the two 40-minute feature rounds, and then the final sprint round of the championship, indeed the final round of the championship, 2nd of May, around the Red Bull Ring. But how do things stand at the moment in the championship? Well, it is Luke McEwen who leads this one. That gap is getting a little bit tight, though, between him and Ross McFarlane. Jack Sedgwick and Josh Thompson are the next two, with David Baker in 5th. Adam Volkovich, Michael Evdoka, Adam Watson, Ashler Finch, and Pete Harrod round out your top 10. Then in Pro-Am, it's Mark Hutchinson who's leading that one for Evo SR. And again, a small gap between him and Paul Webster for Immortal in 2nd place. Christian Rose rounding out the top 3 with Tim Perry, Chris Van der Ness, Andy Archer, James Crouch, Matt Woodhouse, Chris Maltrek, and Ben Gregory, the top 10 there. In the AM standings, it is James Whitehouse of Century Sim Racing who leads that one, a comfortable margin over Lars Van Rijn, but these endurance races, they can change things up. Michael Blake, 3rd place, has dropped off the order a little bit at the front with Adam Hedgecock, Jack Osborne, Martin de Jong, Kevin Kittleman, Jack Belton, Toby Ward, and Craig Jones, should I say, at the back there. In the endurance standings, now this is going to be decided tonight. It's the first championship that we get decided here in the season. It's Luke McEwen who leads that one. Really strong lead here in the endurance championship. I mean, last time, Peter, when we had an endurance round, Luke was just gone at Sebring.
Yeah, I think that was his most dominant performance of the season, and we've seen him certainly not get any slower over the course of the season, that's for sure. Getting signed by one of the biggest names in the business, Team Redline. He's definitely the man to beat tonight. At the moment, he's looking very strong in qualifying, but he's got a whole cast of very fast drivers who want to take his crown.
Mark Hutchinson and James Whitehouse are 2nd and 3rd respectively for them. Of course, points are worked out differently in that standings. And then the team standings to finish off our standings here. Pure Sims Esports lead that one by a comfortable margin over the German simracing.de by ACV outfit. Pure Sim SimLab are in 3rd place ahead of What's Cooking by 3M. Evo SR 5th ahead of Boosted Barrage. The top Pro-Am team, Century Sim Racing, then in 7th place ahead of Team Man. And then the other two in the top 3 of Pro-Am, it's Immortal and Boosted Sim Sport. So that is how things stand right now. The checkered flag is out here in qualifying. We'll get you those qualifying results in just a few moments' time as the last couple of cars come across the line. Just worth mentioning, Mike Horder will be missing here tonight for Boosted Barrage. He's gotten injured his knee, so all the best to Mike in his recovery. And Craig Jones as well, also missing tonight. But Peter, endurance racing around Watkins Glen, I mean, name a better partnership.
It's certainly a struggle, that's for sure. I mean, some of the biggest names in the business have won here at Watkins Glen, not only in the 6 hours, but also in the US Formula One Grand Prix and in IndyCar and NASCAR as well. And you look down the honour roll, I mean, Scott Dixon, he's won here 4 times at Watkins Glen. Jim Clark won here 3 times. João Barbosa, winner of the Watkins Glen 6 hour 4 times. Jeff Gordon, Derek Bell, the list goes on and on.
and we will get a new winner here tonight. But it is time for your grid, and Josh Thompson in that BMW beating out Luke McEwen by 9/1000ths of a second for the front row of the grid. Adam Volkovich continuing his good form for the German SimRacing.de team in third place. Alongside him is Ross McFarlane on row number 2. Row 3, Adam Watson and Marvin Lesmorman. Next row of the grid then, Philip Koenig. Good showing for the German Sim Racing team there in 7th place with Jack Sedgwick alongside him on row 4 in 8th. Reece Carroll and Michael Avdoka row number 5, with row 6 shared by David Baker and Selim Senturk. Leon Penn and Paul Webster, your next two on row number 7 with Mark Hutchinson and Jensen Adriansons. And then it's Alex Neller, Tim Perry. Row number 10, Chris van der Ness and Lee Berridge, with Simon Field, another boosted driver, on row number 11. Christian Rose alongside him. Matt Woodhouse and Pete Harrod. Pete will be disappointed with that qualifying down there on row number 12. Row 13, the All Indy Autosport white and red team of Tom Brown and Brian Krohn, with Michael Blake and Brendan Stacey then on the next row of the grid. Andy Archer and Christian Malcharek then, row number 15 for them. Jonathan Walker and James Whitehouse sharing row number 16 with Eric Carg and Graham Sesford. New to the championship is Graham for Team Year 1. They're sharing that next row of the grid with Jack Belton and Andy Gilmore then 35th and 36th. Adam Hedgecock, Ben Gregory then on row number 19 with Simon Neller and Nick Salapoutis on row number 20. Kevin Kittleman and Jesse Payne-Wilkins on row number 21. Lars Van Rijn and Martin de Jong, row number 22. All 43 cars set a time. Martin de Jong made a mistake on his qualifying lap, which meant he did not score a lap time and starts from the back row of the grid. But around here, Peter, overtaking is very much a possibility, so it's not the worst thing in the world to be at the back, but at the end of the day, you always want to start as far forward as possible.
Yeah, in a field as tightly competitive as this, that's a costly mistake. Also, as well, is that, coming up through these S-bends as well, it happens, we see track blockages sometimes in the sim racing world, but even in the outdoor world of motorsport here at Watkins Glen, it's not unusual to see a full track blockage at the S's here. If one driver makes a mistake, it can set off a huge chain reaction. So if you qualify down in the order, you run quite a big risk of being involved in that. Of course, if you're right at the back by that measure, you could probably back off a little bit and wait to see if carnage ensues in front. So yeah, there are a bit positivities to cling on to.
Was it about 3 or 4 years ago there was a Porsche race around here and it just completely blocked the track?
It happened.
To go through.
It happened in the Watkins Glen 6 hours. The last year the Corvette C7 ran, which, what year would that be? 2019. And it was more or less a full blockage. A lot of cars involved, so it happens to the very, very best of them.
Now there has been an issue out there for Adam Volkovich. Hopefully he can get himself back out there. He had a technical problem that disconnected him from the server, so he'll be hoping to get back on. Just means that he'll have to start from the pit lane instead. And there's a car gone off at the carousel as well. You can't park there, sir. And
is that Volkovich?
I don't know. I don't know actually. Hopefully he can bring up the... Oh, it's one of the Indy Autosport white cars. It's Jensen Adrianson. So he needs to get a bit of a hurry on here to try and get back to his position, because he was due to start in 16th place.
Yeah, well, he's got to try and cut his way through the field and hope that there's enough of a gap to make his way through. Unlike some other simulators where you can literally, the pace lap's just a mess where you can drive through cars. That's not the case in iRacing. So, Jensen does have a bit of work to do to get back into position. But hopefully, like any good Samaritan on the motorway, hopefully somebody lets him in.
Well, as we head towards, that's the heel that they're just going through right now, and that is one of the favourite overtaking opportunities around here. Down into the carousel as well, up the back straight. Obviously, you've got that slipstreaming opportunity into the carousel for an overtake, but the heel is always a good spot to make a move. But speaking of making moves, that pace car will be making a move sharp right very shortly after the final corner. 11 turns around this classic venue, at Watkins Glen in upstate New York. And well, how will this one turn out? There goes the Porsche 911 into pit road, and we're all on Josh Thompson. Away we go for the start. Green flag is in the air, and we are racing here in the World GT Championship. Adam Watson making a move to the inside of turn number 1, and he'll be looking to try and move forward. That's upper position for him from where he started. Rest of your field working their way through. Don't forget they've got cold tyres, cold brakes here. Let's avoid any sort of shenanigans here through the S's. Uphill they go, and it appears that we are so far so good. Staying green action here. Movement further down in your field as well. Look at that. Come over that crest into the braking zone. You're braking after that crest. Some people will be braking on it. Down into the carousel. That's another place where you can get caught out with incidents. And everybody making their way through the chute. So far, Peter, touch wood, we're having a good start here.
Yeah, we certainly are. The chute is another area where it's a blind left-hander, so it's very easy to get caught up in other incidents there as well. But the World GT driver is really putting on an exemplary show of how you do a rolling race start here as well. But at the front of the field, it's Josh Thompson, our pole sitter, who just edged out championship leader Luke McEwen in qualifying. It's a great lap there from Thompson in his BMW. Got our first spinner, gets a little clip from one of the boosted BMW. I think that was Lee Berridge, who span around the 93 of Christian Rose.
Yeah, Christian Rose, who's doing so well in the Pro-Am standings as well. He was looking to maybe fight for a championship. And, we've got more cars stood still. That's the 55. And that's Andy Archer. Sometimes it feels counterintuitive, but the best thing to do is actually just hold your brakes, let everyone go by, and then rejoin the track.
No, worst thing you can do is move at that stage. You've just got to, just stay consistent, stay still. And everybody did a super job to get around there, to get around Andy Archer. That could have been a huge accident, but everyone respecting the yellow flag and reacting quickly. Top marks there from the drivers coming through, and actually top marks to Andy as well for, just like you say, just staying still and being predictable.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've had a lap already in the books. These laps will come thick and fast. Adam Watson feeling the need to go defensive here then on Marvin Lesmorman and on Jack Sedgwick as well. It's Porsche, Audi and Ferrari fighting it out here. Lesmorman just bringing out a little bit wide. Got the inside for the chute though, and Jack Sedgwick is going to have to slot back in. The front three are making a little bit of a breakaway here. It's Thompson from McEwen, from Watt McFarlane, and then it's this little fight here for every other position, it seems, because there's a queue of cars behind Adam here. It's Adam Watson, Marvin Lesmorman, Jack Sedgwick, Philip Koenig. You got Michael Evdoka in there, Reese Carroll. Oh, there's Lesmorman potentially losing the position. If he can hold it around the outside there, Jack, you've got the inside for the next corner. Down the inside, nicely done. And Philip Koenig now, Marvin's teammate, was having a little look, but deciding, no, not this time.
Not this time, and Jack Sedgwick, he knows he's got to get a move on here. He was so strong at Mosport. He really was impressive in that NX Ferrari. And here at Watkins Glen, it's not an overly different circuit from Mosport. It's very high speed, lots of high speed corners, and that might actually suit Jack Sedgwick very well, but he's got to get away with the leading group. He's got pace to go with Josh Thompson, Luke McEwen and Ross McFarlane, but he has got some really important laps coming up to try and bridge the gap before they check out for good.
Already some big movers in the field. Kevin Kittleman is up 10 places in this race so far, so really good start for him. Lee Berridge up 5 places in this one as well. Jack Sedgwick up 3, and we've got to change at the front because Luke McEwen has just moved ahead of Josh Thompson. Jack Sedgwick has just moved ahead of Adam Watson. So Watson not able to hold on. That Ferrari looking rapid here today.
Certainly is, yeah. So about 1.5 seconds now back from Ross McFarlane in third to Jack Sedgwick in fourth in the NX Ferrari. So let's see what he can do. But at the front, Luke McEwen now into the lead past Josh Thompson. And how will that affect the pace? Will that stretch the field out more? Will Luke McEwen try and drop the hammer here and make sure that that leading group is not growing in number? And he wants to reduce the number of that leading group.
If you are new to the World GT Championship, welcome along. You're in for a treat tonight, that's for sure. It is our final endurance round of the season. There are 4 endurance rounds, 4 feature rounds and 4 sprint rounds in this championship to make it a 12-week championship. This race, 1 hour and 45 minutes in length. You've got 2 mandated pit stops here today, so strategy is going to come into play here. If I'm Josh Thompson and Ross McFarlane right now, I'm happy sitting behind Luke McEwen to do a bit of fuel saving here, because come the pit stop, they'll be able to get in and out a little bit quicker than Luke.
Yes, they will. That's certainly where he wants to be. Well, let's get another look here. Christian Rose. Now, that was the number 26 boosted
Simon Field
Lamborghini. I said it was Lee Berridge. I apologise, Lee. You're probably screaming at the television as you're watching this. But so yeah, Simon Field is kind of a little bit over enthusiastic there.
It's the smallest of touches as well between them. And lap 1 you are cold tyres, as I mentioned at the start of this race, so unfortunately it can just be the slices of touches that costs you those positions. Speaking of positions lost, Adam Watson in the background of that shot was all over the grass there, and there's an accident. Selim Senturk is in the wall as well in the background of shot. We seem to be catching everybody having issues out of the chutes. The background of shot there, but Senturk able to keep going. Now, fortunately for him, there is a free fast repair in this race, so he will be able to get that car repaired. He'll just want to make sure he gets himself to a pit window first. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, he's got to wait for the pit window to open. Hopefully the damage won't be so bad that he can keep going and just get to that earliest possible pit stop opportunity. Will Selim Senturk, but he did hit the guardrail pretty hard there, so I wouldn't imagine that Audi is driving 100% now. This is very difficult to try and get into. No, he's going for the racing line, so it looks like he's not needing to take service just yet, so that's good. Because in it, when the pack's as busy as this, the pit entry to Watkins Glen, it's very, very difficult to actually get that done cleanly and not have someone ram you from behind.
Speaking of ramming, there's some contact. And around goes the Audi. And there's further contact as well. So this is on lap 1 then. That's the incident with Andy Archer there as well. And Jensen Adrianson's in the wars here today. Ross McFarlane. Look at this, Ross making some moves. He wants to go forward in this race. Normally, he's the most patient of everybody out there on the grid, but he has decided, I need to move forward in this one.
Yeah, I think Ross has decided no more Mr. Nice Guy here. He knows he's got to put the pressure on Luke McEwen to try and win this championship. Luke McEwen has a pretty strong lead in the points, but all Ross can do is put as much pressure on him as possible and force him into a mistake. And, well, we've seen Luke be relatively unflappable. When he gets out on his own, he's just he can just time trial with the best of them and put some amazing lap times in. But when things get rough, when things get dicey, he's a little bit like a Sebastian Vettel in that case. I mean, in his Red Bull days, he would be fantastic from the front, but as soon as it got a little bit heated, that was when the mistakes started to creep in. That's only chinking Luke McEwen's armour, and I'm sure Ross McFarlane will be wanting to expose that as much as possible.
I mean, he is 16, let's not forget.
Oh yes, absolutely. I say that with the greatest of respect and admiration. I hope that comes across.
Yeah, he's still learning as a driver, and well, you definitely can't park there, Mark. That's on the exit of the booth on the inside, and he's had to wait for everybody to go past. I don't think he needs to quite reverse that far, and he's done this all on his own.
Yeah, he has, hasn't he? Just let the rears just come round on him. And at the moment, since the change in model, the GT3 Porsche has gone from being a very stable car to a really, really snappy, uncomfortable thing to drive.
Well, I was talking to 1 or 2 people, and they were saying that actually the Porsche should be really good around here. Luke McEwen and Ross McFarlane. You said Ross is not playing Mr. Nice Guy anymore. He's going for it. He's going for the lead here. Meanwhile, Josh Thompson saying, okay, you've got distracted by Luke. I'll take that second place. And all of this is slowing them down because look who's right behind them. Jack Sedgwick, also Philip Koenig and Marvin Les-Bulman are joining in the party here as well. So we've almost got a 6-car fight for the lead here at Watkins Glen in the early going. We've only been 9.5 minutes into this race, Peter. So business, as I say, is picking up nicely in the early stages.
Yeah, I think we're in for a cracker here today. I mean, we've had so many thrilling finishes at Watkins Glen before. It's a great track. What's happened to 3M's Johnny Walker? Oof. Oh, wow, that's hard hitting the wall. Now, can he get... Oh, he's just missed the pit entry there. Oh, that's so annoying for Jonathan Walker in the 3M Lamborghini. But back at the front, yeah, we've got a real race on here. Last time around, just before we go over the line, Jack Sedgwick was 8 tenths quicker than Josh Thompson last time by, and a couple of tenths quicker than McEwen and McFarlane. As they go over the line this time, Sedgwick faster again than all of the guys in front of him. So Sedgwick really is the man on the move in the Ferrari, and you have to say, Paul, okay, he's been aided a little bit with the swapping of positions at the front, but Jack Sedgwick's done a super job to make the overtakes he's needed to make and lay down some fast lap times to get him back in the hunt for this race.
If you are watching this race live, then do click on the link at the top of the chat for live timing in this one. RaceSpot.tv/timing. Ross McFarlane just having to back out of that one a little bit there between himself and Josh Thompson. We're looking at another incident. This is Martin de Jong. Well, that was a bit rude. That Audi seems to just come across, didn't it?
Yes, very much so. Poor old Martin de Jong, nothing he could do there as well. I didn't see which Audi it was. Oh dear, yeah, that was not nice whatsoever. Interestingly, they're riding on just as you were talking there, Paul, listening to Ross McFarlane's throttle input. He really long lift and coast there. And Josh Thompson actually dabbing the brakes a little bit, and both of them not wanting to kind of make that challenge for the front, both trying to watch their fuel number whilst keeping Luke McEwen in view. So it's a real battle of wits and battle of tactics at the front.
Well, looking a little bit further back, this is Lee Berridge, and also behind him there is Michael Blake. He is currently involved in a drive against the recovering Adam Volkovich, who started from the back of the field. And there's a car to the side of the track there. That's Christian Malcharek. He's got back up and running, but he's got damage down to the rear wing of his car. So Malcharek, the Pro-Am. Oh, this is turn 10. This is going to be a running theme all night, I have a feeling here, Peter.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very fast corner in a GT3 car. It's almost flat, depending on the downforce spec you're running. And it's near the top end of the gearbox as well. So, yeah, it's interesting. It's the big V10 mid-engined cars that are which are coming a cropper there as well. The rear just coming around, the car just snapping away on the driver, and it just shows you. I mean, the fuel tank will be running down a little bit now as well, so it's not as if the car's on full fuel either. So, yeah, drivers are really going to have to be careful at that particular point in the circuit.
What doesn't help matters is that and I'm going to get onto my somebody's going to put 50p in the Paul Smith rant machine, because it's the track limits at turns 8 and turns 10 are, how shall we say, very liberal in their definition of track limits. You can go all four wheels off the track on the exit of those corners, and it's not going to penalise you at all. So if for me, if it enforced the track limits properly, and the cars were going into turn 10 that little bit slower to make sure they stayed within the track limits, then maybe they wouldn't be having those problems. Just a thought.
1 hour and 31 minutes and 15 seconds left of this motor race. As I dodge a follow-up comment on that one. I know it's my job as the colour to do so, but, Luke McEwen leading this motor race by 4 tenths of a second from Josh Thompson, with Ross McFarlane fastest lap of the race at the moment, although that honour is very hotly contested at the moment. 1:41.1 for both Thompson and McFarlane, but it's all about who's got the fuel strategy here, I think, in this first set of stocks. Although Jack Sedgwick is in the hunt here, the only thing is, Paul, he will have burned up quite a bit of fuel trying to get to this front group.
Yeah, he will have. He will have been pushing a little bit harder to catch up to them, but the fact that he's there now, he can get that extreme fuel saving being done now. He can just back off a little bit and just sit back and almost be out for a Monday evening drive here on the Easter Monday drive for him. Of course, if you are one to celebrate such an event, happy Easter to everyone out there. And if you don't celebrate that, then you know, celebrate whatever you do celebrate. Happy Ramadan as well. It's currently Ramadan.
I just finished my Easter egg, chocolate Easter egg there, so it was that's given me a little bit of a boost for the rest of the day. I was actually at Not Kill yesterday, and those of course who've maybe not been to the circuit in real life, they may have driven it on the sim here in iRacing. We were doing Easter egg rolling down Duffus Dip yesterday.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, it was Easter family fun day yesterday at the circuit, and everyone took a walk down at 1 o'clock, and we had it was absolute chaos, as you can imagine. Kids rolling eggs down Duffus Dip.
Well, you see, there's the track limits, but I won't mention it anymore, I promise. James Whitehouse that we're on board with then, going down towards turn number 1, following Michael Blake here. Just to keep you abreast of everything happening, your top Pro-Am driver in this race is Paul Webster in 12th. Mark Hutchinson, second placed Pro-Am in 13th. And then Chris Van Der Ness, 16th, sorry. 15th for Tim Perry, should I say. Third place in Pro-Am. Your top Am is actually Michael Blake that we could see in front of us when we were on board with James Whitehouse, who's right behind him, second place in Am. And third place Am is Jack Belton in 31st. So some good running so far. As I say, if you do want to keep up to date with your favourite driver, then do click on the link at the top of chat, RaceSpot.tv/timing, to keep abreast of everything happening here in this race. And you'll see that James Whitehouse, currently 26 for Century Sim Racing, currently racing from Century Sim Racing as well, out there in Warrington, in the northwest of England. And up they go once again. And James just sitting there. I think he's, again, one of these drivers who's going to play that strategy game and try and get one over Michael in front of him. As this contact between Eric Haag and I believe it was Lee Berridge.
Oh dear, Eric Haag in the Lamborghini now trying to find a way to get his wagon turned around and rejoin the circuit, taking it patiently, waiting for an opportunity. There he goes, with minimal damage on the car, but huge damage on the timesheets after all that hard work.
Around he goes, and I can tell you we've got yellow flags at the final corner as well. Lee Berridge has had another incident, as around goes Eric Haag, well, and James Whitehouse is another one of those cars who has had an incident. We've had a big incident out of the final corner, I can tell you. And you see one of the year 1 cars reversing and just getting onto pit road now. So yeah, James Whitehouse, big issue for him, along with Lee Berridge. They're on pit road, along with Christian Rose and Jack Belton as well. Here we go, here's a look. Oh, James. Oh, Michael Blake got lucky out of that. Oh. Is that our newcomer Graham Sess for having a nice welcome to the series there? I think it is.
Yeah, that's about the most unwelcome welcome I've ever seen. Wow, yeah, that was nothing the Year 1 driver could have done there. Dear me, that Graham Sessford, that was a big one. It looked like more of a kind of racing incident than anything. You don't really want to be going multiple cars abreast though into the final corner. It's pretty much one line through there. Let's get a look at it. This is on board with Berridge. Oh no, on board with well, I'll give you nightmares.
Well, fortunately, he doesn't have far to tow the car.
He gets into first gear just in time for getting. Now, yeah, the only thing is, though, Paul, would he have driven backwards down the track to get into the pit lane, though?
I think he took a tour to the pit lane.
Okay.
Unfortunately, and here's the thing with iRacing, depending on how far into the lap you are, it gives you then how long you are taking to tour back to pit road. So because he's not crossed the timing line there, it's actually a relatively short tour back to the pit lane for him. So it's not worked out. It's not the worst case scenario for him. He could have literally gone across the white line and then had to have waited about 2 minutes to get a tour back to pit lane.
Yeah, yeah, let's cling to the positives in terms of that one there. But yeah, a lot of big incidents going on already. I mean, we're only 20 minutes into this race. It's an hour and 25 to go. Luke McEwen has been the front gunner for most of the race. George Thompson led early, but McEwen soon went out front, and nobody has tried to make an overtaking manoeuvre. But it looks to me, Paul, that Josh Thompson and indeed Ross McFarlane, and throw Jack Sedgwick into that mix as well, they look, particularly Josh Thompson, looks incredibly comfortable there behind Luke McEwen. It almost feels like nobody's showing their hand here as well. I mean, normally we'd expect Luke McEwen to drive off into the distance with the rest of the field, but there isn't a big gap back to the rest of the field. So I think everyone's just not wanting to show their strategical hand just yet, wanting to play themselves into the right position.
High-speed poker, isn't it? Everybody's just keeping a straight face and not giving away their hand right now. And certainly these drivers, they are pushing things. Well, look, McEwen will be pushing things at the front, but at the same point, he'll be doing his own lifting and coasting, won't he, into corners. So I don't imagine he'll be absolutely on the ragged edge here. Team Redline driver up the hill again, and it is uphill all the way up here. There's Josh closing up, and then sits right behind. I was just hoping to hear the engine of Luke McEwen's car then, but we switched over to Ross, who was lifting and coasting behind Josh Thompson and Luke McEwen, our two race leaders there. So things staying as they are now, and I would imagine for the next 20 minutes drivers will be pretty much staying as they are now, well, especially in this lead pack, because they are pulling away from Philip Koenig and Marvin Lesmorn, and the two teammates from GermanSimRacing.de who can work together out there.
Interesting there. Josh Thompson is lifting and coasting a bit, but not as much as I might have thought. Yeah. This is fascinating stuff at the front. Who's trying to do what here? Are they all driving actually harder than we think, trying to keep up with Luke McEwen? Does Luke McEwen have the ace card up his sleeve? I mean, we have seen throughout the season, Paul, he has had that edge on pace over everybody.
Well, I mean, I just think back to the last endurance race that we had at Sebring.
That was more than an edge. That was.
But we had a similar situation, though, didn't we? Up to the first pit stop, he was there with Josh Thompson with him as well, and then as soon as he got out of that pit lane, he got on it, and he was untouchable then at that point. And I think possibly, potentially, depending on how the strategy all plays out, we could see a similar thing happening here today if the rest of the drivers aren't careful.
Well, that's the thing is, if you Luke McEwen has risen the bar yet again in this championship, and if you want to beat him, you have to be perfect. You have to be flawless, and that's something that there's, has there been any one driver that's been able to do that regularly? Possibly not. And yeah, you have to be super smart and play the strategy perfectly, and well, that's why we're waiting patiently. We're waiting with real intent to see what happens here. There's more Talladega-esque jockeying for position, heading down into the outer loop. Now, Christian Maltrek, he's certainly, lived with the pain of that broken rear wing. I would think in the next lap or two, he'll be able to pit and not have to take any extra pit stops. So he'll be watching that clock saying, please, come on, let me come in, please.
I mean, we normally say about 10-15 minutes remaining in the race for the final pit stop for those that go long and then short at the end. So, I mean, really, I would imagine that he'd be able to come in at any time now. It's just whether you look at the big picture and say, well, I'm going to have a very heavy car going into the final stint, and if you go for the early stop now. Yeah,
but you get that repair. You need that. He needs that free repair. That wing is going to be slowing him down multiple tenths a lap. It has to be. Let's see, is he going to dip into pit lane? No, he obviously feels comfortable. But that's interesting, dropping to just a shorter gear there, going through the final corner. That hints to me, Paul, that he's not got the grip that he wants. He's having to drop a gear to try and get the car to tuck in, and which does kind of kill the lap time. Interesting there, Josh Thompson using the coasting on the clutch there.
And we've seen recently in the Nürburgring 24-hour coverage how that can sometimes bite back on you. Sorry, George, I didn't want to bring it up, but seeing as Peter's mentioned dipping the clutch, I'll mention it. Not ideal to do that, especially not on your first lap of your race.
In George's defence, it was lap 2 of a 24-hour race that he blew the engine, but yeah. What a shame, poor George.
I have a lot of time for George.
Yeah, me too. Me too. For those listening, thinking, what are these two bores going on about? One of our esteemed colleagues, George Simmons, was trying in iRacing. You can dip the clutch to try and basically save a bit of fuel to reduce the revs and reduce throttle input and try and save as much fuel as you possibly can. The only problem is if you have the clutch in, bang down the gearbox, like if you did it in a road car, if you put the clutch in, put it into a much lower gear and let the clutch out, you can, if you put it in too low a gear, you over rev the car and can potentially break the engine, and that's exactly what happened. So I mean, to be fair to it, it was not an iRacing fault, it was definitely driver error. It was the iRacing actually simulated perfectly what would have happened if you did that in a real world car.
Yeah, and that simulated the fact of valves and pistons being spread right across the track is usually the case if you do that. I know somebody who has killed multiple cars in his past. To be fair to him, the last 2 cars that he's had, he hasn't managed to kill yet. So. But then again, he is a dad now, so he's calmed down a bit because he's got his kids in the car with him usually. So, but yeah, I've known him to kill multiple cars, and an engine is one of those things that he's done in the past. So it can be done in real life, that's for sure. Simon Field, well, apart from that little contact with Christian Rose on lap number 1, is not having a bad race out there, is he? He's behind Adam Volkovic, who's doing a tremendous job, it must be said, of starting from the back of the field. Is down only 13 places from where he started, so really, really good start for Adam Volkovic. If only he didn't disconnect from the server.
Oh, I know, that'll be so frustrating for him. He's just set his fastest lap of the race, 1:41.5. That is quicker than our leaders right now. That would say to me 2 things, Paul. One, as you rightly say, Adam Volkovic is driving beautifully right now. Second of all, the guys at the front aren't pushing 100%, and that's nothing against Adam Volkovic, but you would expect Luke McEwen to be lapping quicker than that. But they're definitely all sussing each other out at the front.
See how close they got to the wall and on the safer barrier on the exit of turn number 11. That certainly is.
It's a pucker corner.
It's where you perfectly. That's where you have a camera set up on the exit of that and just see how close they get. It's a brilliant shot. We can see car 113. Ben Gregory has stopped at the final corner. I could see on the track map. Oh, and there he is, and he's got significant damage to his car. Fortunately, he's right at pit entry, so that's rather helpful for the 3 Spires motorsport driver.
Yeah, that has minimised the damage there, so Ben Gregory will get a shiny new Lamborghini. No, I have not seen that done before, so you're certainly unique there, Ben. My goodness, that just put a wheel on the grass there on entry to pit lane, and I bet you that would have caught him by surprise.
I know you've got to take a tighter line onto pit lane, as here's Paul Webster making a move now ahead of David Baker. But yeah, maybe keeping it off the grass there, Ben, might be a little bit of an idea next time. David Baker losing a position to Paul Webster, so the good doctor down to 12th place in this race. The man who loves to be 6th place, should I say, in races. He always seems to manage it somehow. I don't think he's going to be doing that here today, although right now he's in a double of 16 right now in 12th place.
Oh, a slowdown penalty there going on. Now, who was that?
I think that was lap traffic getting out the way.
Oh, I see. Yes, that's it caused you to slow down. That's for sure. Dr. David Baker in the double 6. running the same number as Ronan Pearson, who fittingly also runs with 3M overalls.
Look at that. Josh Thompson to the front of the field. You get the feeling that Luke McEwen has just backed off the throttle and gone, go on then, Josh, if you want by, go by. I'll sit behind now, get myself some fuel saving done here. So Josh Thompson to the head of the field. The man with no pro team is going it alone in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup. And certainly he's been improving. That's fair to say in that championship. He's had a bit of bad luck. He's had a bit of bad luck here in this championship as well, but he's out to the front. Now, what's Josh's plan here, Peter? Does he try and run away from Luke to stop him getting a bit of fuel saving himself, or does Josh just back off himself?
Well, it seemed actually that Josh attempted there, just as Luke let him by, to try and make a break. I think he's trying to catch Luke McEwen a little bit off guard and saying, you know, he's done it. That's the thing is, as you rightly say, Josh Thompson's already kind of ticked that fuel-saving box. Now he's hammer time now. And actually, you know, up to 9/10 of a second as they cross the line. That is right on that is really reducing the draft effect to Luke McEwen. It will get a much better impression of what the real gap is when they get up towards the outer loop at the end of the long uphill back straightaway. But it seems that Josh Thompson is trying to make a break, and right enough sets his best lap of the race last time by for anybody, 1:41.0. So yeah, Josh Thompson's pushing now. No fuel saving on that last lap for sure.
No, but he's giving Luke McEwen a nice slipstream up the hill here. Ross McFarlane feeling the need to go defensive there on Jack Sedgwick, and Sedgwick through.
Who's that?
Oh, it's tyre smoke. That's a Lamborghini. I have a funny feeling that was Ben Gregory. It was Gregory trying to get out the way there. Oh, in fact, no, it was a battle with Eric Haag.
Oh, that was a bit of a kind of half-hearted one there, but how did the leaders get through there without any incident? That must have given them a real heart attack at the front there as well. Yeah, there they go. They've already gone through by that point, but that happened pretty close in front of our leaders, Josh Thompson and Luke McEwen. They both got through clean, but wow, that would have been a heart starter.
Heart starter, it's been a heart stopper, is that one, that's for sure. Eric Haag giving a terse flash of the lights as well at Ben Gregory for that. Unfortunately, when you have an accident at the carousel around here without the bus stop chicane, littlest of contact side to side, you're both going spinning and usually off into the wall on the exit. Fortunately, big row of tyres are alongside. Here's Ross McFarlane's view.
He didn't even flinch there.
No.
He's a master of serenity, isn't he? Is Ross McFarlane. He's so calm under the heat. It's almost as if he completely anticipated that. He knew what was happening. There wasn't a big shake of the steering wheel there. He just held his line and didn't panic. And I think he was actually maybe more concerned with what Jack Sedgwick was doing as well.
Now, these two have just separated out a little bit, haven't they, from Luke McEwen? Because of that little bit of a swap of positions between the two of them, it's just allowed Luke to pull away. Speaking of pulling away, or lack of, Paul Webster still ahead of David Baker. So Michael Doker, no, Leon Penn in front of him, does Paul Webster. There's David Baker, and I believe that's Ben Gregory. Yeah, one lap down behind him. So battle for 11th. Mark Hutchinson is 4 seconds back off of these two. So Paul Webster and David Baker have certainly been able to work themselves away from the Evo SR driver, and they've got a number of lap traffic, 4 lap cars between them and Mark, so that's going to help protect them in their little fight for 11th place here.
Interestingly, on the last lap, the first lap where Luke McEwen was in second place, he then set the best lap of the race at 1:41.084, 3 thousandths quicker than Thompson's one before that, but it didn't count because he broke track limits. But he was quicker than Thompson last time by, so really fascinating stuff at the front of the field. So both Thompson and McEwen are both pushing 100%, and I think that's why they've dropped McFarlane and Sedgwick, Paul.
McFarlane's got ahead of Sedgwick as well.
Yeah.
So
did Sedgwick let him by? It looked like it.
I don't know, but that was down into turn 1, but Fowler went wide, very wide. This is something that drivers are going to have to be careful with, is instant points, and track limits being a main accumulator of instant points around here. I did mention that turns 8 and turn 10 are very lax on track limits, but then turn 1, on the exit of turn 1, it's very strict on track limits. So yeah, it's a little bit sort of contradicting itself in this on this track. So personally not my liking, but there we go. We all know my thoughts on track limits. Here's Pete Harrod, the Century Sim Racing. I said at the start of the race he wouldn't have been happy starting in 24th. He has gained 4 positions, but for someone like Peter, former champion in the series, he would be hoping to be further up, Peter.
Yeah, I think so, and I do wonder how much of an effect that incident at Mosport 2 weeks ago had on his psyche. Regardless of the whys and wherefores around it, I don't think that's something you want hanging over you anyway. So yeah, might just be just Pete Harrod just building the confidence back up and building the good vibes back up. Chris Van Den Ness, interestingly, just as we were riding on board with Pete Harrod, Van Den Ness had a huge tail slapper. Okay,
yeah,
so first of our leaders in.
Now that's interesting. That's early, if you ask me. Has he got damage to his car? He has, hasn't he?
I wonder if he's hit the wall coming out the final corner, and that's why McFarlane got by.
He must have. There you go. There's the free repair. So now Sedgwick is going to be on an alternate strategy because it's not quite a full stint, is that? So he's going to have a little bit longer in the pits in the second stop. But fortunate for him, we are in that pit window now, aren't we?
Yeah, we are in that pit window, and you never know. This could work out well for Jack Sedgwick. We saw him be really strong. Oh, that's fascinating. Well, Paul, you one of your paddock spies said that tyres would be interesting to watch for. That's a surprise, seeing tyres being taken now.
Oh, look at this. This is going to be a beautiful shot. And yeah, bang!
Pound signs.
Yes. And a Ferrari wing, front and rear left side wing, won't be cheap either, will they?
Neither will a suspension arm either. Or a wheel rim. Yeah, that would... There might have been more...
There's a car in the wrong way round in pit entry.
It's a Porsche.
Don't say that... Well... well, Jensen's car isn't that well.
Oh, no, it is a Porsche.
It's Mark Woodhouse. Oh, dear, Mark. He's had to Austin Powers it there. Got back up and running now, though, but hardly an ideal way to get onto pit road there. But Jensen Adrianson's in that Audi has had all manner of things happen in this race. It's just not been his day today.
Yeah, pretty much everything that could go wrong has gone wrong for poor old Jensen Adriansons, and a day to forget quite possibly. So let's see what happened. Mark Woodhouse doesn't look like he's wanting to go to pit road, and then he loses it, and then oh, that skill. Nearly does it. Nearly does the full J-turn there.
Problem is, the car coming onto pit road is like, well, where are you going, Mark?
What on earth is going on here? I see what Mark Woodhouse is trying to do. There is method in the Austin Powers. He's making sure that he's not going backwards and doesn't get a DQ.
Yeah, that's very clever from Mark. Because if he'd have just hit the throttle and gone forward in that, he'd have been going the wrong way down the track. And yeah, that's an automatic DQ here on iRacing. One of the few things that it does automatically pick up on the service here. Josh Thompson still leading this one, 0.3 of a second ahead of Luke McEwen, with Ross McFarlane now just dropping back that little bit from these two. So I think that little bit of fighting that he and Jack Sedgwick were having just a couple of laps earlier has just separated these two out, and Ross, he's trying his best to hang on to a slipstream here, but I think he's out of that slipstream range now.
Yes, he is, and that's because Josh Thompson and Luke McEwen have been going absolutely hammer and tongs at the front, trading some really fast lap times. I mean, McEwen last time by a 1:41.0 again. I mean, McFarlane's no slouch either. 1:41.1. In fact, McFarlane's just set his best lap time of the race, clearly having to drop the hammer as well to try and keep up with these two and try and stay on strategy, stay on point. But this is a fascinating motor race just beginning to play out in front of us.
I'm just looking out for where Jack Sedgwick is. He's 29th. He's second place to the drivers who have pitted. Adam Volkovich is ahead of him, who had a 20-second stop for Adam, but so that means no tyres for Volkovich. So you would imagine that Sedgwick would catch up to Adam there. We've got Tom Brown and Brian Kroon onto pit road now, along with Kevin Kittleman. So all the Indy Autosport cars heading down onto pit road for their service here. So obviously they're on a plan, and the Archer as well. So we're starting to get a few of those drivers now coming onto pit road, deciding now is the time to make that pit stop. I mean, they've been racing for 40 minutes, so they will be getting pretty close to being on fumes.
Yeah, they will, that's for sure. So the drivers now have to think when is the right moment to come down pit lane and try and maximise their strategy as best as possible. Once again, Adam Watson, you know, we can't say, you know, he's had to really drag a lot of performance out of the Porsche 911 GT3R. He's in 6th overall at the moment, and again, by far the top Porsche, and really has drag performance out of the machine. It is, at the moment, the way that the rules work, it's just really twitchy at high speed.
Thompson and McEwen, the two race leaders on pit road. Crucially though, Ross McFarlane not onto pit road. We've got a bit of a pit party going on because everybody is heading down to pit road. Is Mark Hutchison going to stay out? He normally does. No, he's coming onto pit road as well. So everybody then who hasn't pitted, apart from Selim Senturk. Now it's interesting because Senturk, of course, don't forget, has got some damage on his car, but he's deciding to go all the way to the end of his planned stint here. So McFarlane, Senturk, Van der Ness all have not pitted on this lap. The rest of them, you can see them. It's just chaos down there. It's a pit party to end all pit parties. Thompson and McEwen pull away.
So Josh Thompson taking on half a second less of fuel compared to Luke McEwen. Now, interestingly, neither of them took tyres, whereas Jack Sedgwick did take tyres. So this is where we're going to see who has got the strategy right. We'll see what Ross McFarlane decides to do. I would think he'll mirror what Thompson and McEwen are doing. I doubt he'll go off strategy, but Sedgwick, he's the guy who really is on that alternative plate.
Well, the advantage for Ross now is that if he's got an engineer speaking in his ear, it'll be right. They've not taken tyres. Do not take tyres when you come onto pit road. He can take this pit entry. No, you can take this pit entry very late around here, and that is what he's done there. So yeah, onto pit road, and I would imagine that Senturk and Van der Ness are going to head onto pit road as well. So where Ross McFarlane comes out, it's going to be key to see what is happening strategy-wise in this race, because there is Josh Thompson just at the heel of the boot. Ross McFarlane yet to get into his pit box.
Yes, he is. So the young Scotsman brings the Pure Sims Lamborghini into pit road with the number 1 plate on the side. Defending champion, of course, Luke McEwen is in a good position at the moment with 3 rounds to go, including this one, to take that crown away. But you know, Ross McFarlane is not going to give it up without a big fight as well. So Thompson and McEwen now coming down the start-finish straight. McFarlane still in the box. And oh, that's agonising, waiting on all that fuel. Now I think, Paul, Ross McFarlane is going for his very long stop here. I think we'll look at the pit stop times when they come in. Yes, it is. Ross McFarlane takes on, just waiting for the clock to show up on our timing screen, but yeah, McFarlane 32 seconds of fuel. That's 8 seconds more than McEwen and about 8.5 more than Thompson. So McFarlane going on his own slightly alternative strategy, getting the long pit stop out the way first of all.
Now there is method in your madness with doing that, isn't there? Because you're getting yourself a nice, really short splash and dash at the end of the race. There's all the pit stop times, by the way. Philip Koenig taking a really short stop of 20.1 seconds. Adam Volkovic 19.7. The thinking for me, if you're Thompson and McEwen taking that little bit less fuel, is you're going to be able to drive faster with it being a lighter car than what Ross has got now. And it sort of averages it out a little bit, doesn't it? It doesn't mean you have to pit sooner than Ross, but it averages everything out.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, how that will play out and what works. And of course, Jack Sedgwick, he appears to be one of the only drivers in the field who have actually taken tyres, so he is really going for the alternative play as well. Look at Adam Watson as well. He's in 6th overall, and he's taken his long stop. He actually was in the box for an identical amount of time as Ross McFarlane. So Adam Watson has more fuel on board than all the cars queued up behind him now. So he's in a really good position in that Team Mad Porsche. Now, do I remember correctly, Paul? Did you say that he's not done much practice this week? You wouldn't know.
He's been at Alton Park all day, I can tell you that.
He's been inspired watching British GT.
Absolutely. And you know what, with that Porsche as well, with the position of the fuel tanks, it's more to the front, isn't it, the fuel tank on that Porsche?
It is.
That can actually help you a little bit if you've got that little bit more fuel at the front, because it means that you've got that bit more weight over the front tyres, which in this Porsche can really help things out. And that's Simon Field, and he's found a wall.
He's at the front, a lot of damage to the front of that boosted Lamborghini, so has to take it down pit road, and that is terrible timing, having just now had Simon, I would think he would have done just come out of pit lane. Yeah, so that's and then misses his pit bog. When it rains, it pours. Oh, that's frustrating. But
get it topped up, so an extra few litres of fuel, just so it means that when you do have to come in for your final stop, you can just really splash and dash it to the end. And that is Simon's second pit stop. Technically speaking, in terms of the regulations, he has met the criteria now in having 2 pit stops. The problem is, these cars, because of the fuel limit that gets put on by the series, that's so easily done on the exit of turn 9. That grass is so, it just draws you in.
Lucky to get that one back to pit road. I mean, absolutely full on hit into the wall.
And then followed it up. And the Parabellum car just having to get out of the way.
Back at the front then, Josh Thompson leading the way from Luke McEwen. Now, both of these drivers more or less on the same strategy. They're stopped for more or less the same amount of time. Thompson about half a second less, but I think Thompson would have used less fuel over that stint than McEwen did, only by a minimal amount. But really fascinating battle. This is Heirs of Daytona, round 1, Paul, when these two duked it out all race long.
Yeah, it is.
That seems so long ago now.
It seems so long ago, and the thing is, that round 1 is one of the best rounds in the championship, I think, that we've had in terms of endurance race. That unbelievable race. I do encourage you all the way back to round number 1 of the championship. If you do get the chance to watch the VOD on that one, do, because that was a sensational race here in this championship, one of the endurance rounds. But Luke McEwen right now, I think he's playing that waiting game now. I think he's happy to sit here, and if he's got a head, an old head on young shoulders, I think he'll play that patient game now.
Well, I mean, last time he was a 141.2, which we know on a low tank of fuel he's got a 141.0 in him. He's in the draft. The moment last time by, it's interesting. I think Josh Thompson is driving really, really well tonight, and actually Josh Thompson has brought an extra level tonight, I have to say, of what is already very high, and I think he's really asking big questions of Luke McEwen, I must be honest, and I think, is Luke McEwen about to deliver an answer here?
No.
Oh, now is he?
I think here he's just showing his nose, isn't he? He's trying to get in the head of Josh, and to really try and make a move on Josh, but it takes a lot to get into Josh's head. The problem is when he does have something happen, he can let the emotions sort of take over a little bit, and that's something that needs to get out of his driving. Adam Watson's lost a position, and Paul Webster has just lost a position to Reese Carroll now. After the pit stops, Webster up to 9th place, was 11th, 12th place. Jack Sedgwick up to 13th now in this one, so he's on that recovery drive after getting new tyres. So Sedgwick...
not lapping quick enough, not even close.
He's not.
He's actually much slower, oddly, than our leaders.
But is that
bizarre.
Traffic?
Could be,
it
will be.
Work his way through?
It will be, but yeah, no point having shiny tyres on if you can't deploy them. That's the thing. If you take the tyres, you drop yourself way back in the field and then have to fight the way through. It's interesting. Is that a Ferrari problem? Is it a setup problem that Jack Sedgwick has got there? It's very interesting. But interesting, at the front, Josh Thompson last time by a 141.5, Luke McEwen 141.6. That indicates to me that they're going back into their kind of, tiptoe mode a little bit, just sussing each other up. But they're still 3/10 quicker than Ross McFarlane.
And Ross, of course, is in free air, isn't he? So he's not got that slipstream to work with, which will be helping out. But yeah, that
Josh doesn't either.
No, he doesn't. That's for sure. Yeah, this is going to be a really, really intriguing end to this race. And I'm with you, Peter. I think those at the front are definitely driving within themselves, and it's going to be a firecracker of a final 15-20 minutes of this race. Speaking of this race, Adam Watson that we're looking at along with Reese Carroll. So Watson's holding on to that place, and he's got a fellow Team Mad driver who's driving in this Immortal car behind, Paul Webster. Now Webster is the leading Pro-Am still after the pit stops, 9th place for him. And there were multiple people telling me that the Porsche actually is very good around this track. When one of the official races was GT3 races were taking place around this track a couple of weeks ago, pretty much the entirety of the GT3 field was all in Porsches.
That is a surprise, actually. I must say, because it's I've certainly. It must be a set. You have to get the right setup on the car, because if you don't, it's see, there you go, a little real snap there for Adam Watson. And Adam is like I say, I can't say enough about how impressive he's been this season, getting the best out of that car. And that car has changed a lot from the beginning of our season to now, because of course we've straddled 2 iRacing seasons, and the change in car dynamics from one season to another can be quite stark in the iRacing world. So yeah, Adam stayed on top of that really, really well, and flying the flag for Weissach beautifully. Of course, a brand that have done rather well here over the years. Would you believe it? Harley Haywood drove in 48 Watkins Glen 6 hours and won it 8 times.
Wow, that's rather impressive. 48.
First one in 1968. He won it. Paid $10 to get a NASCAR race license. It was his first professional race, and he won it with Peter Gregg in a 911, and then sadly got drafted to go to the Vietnam War. Luckily, he came home.
Yes, absolutely. Fortunate enough indeed, as these drivers carrying on. Jack Sedgwick has gained another place, by the way, so he'll be looking forward now. Now, here's the thing for Jack. It'll be worth keeping an eye on his next few laps, because he's got a little bit of free air now in that car, that number 10 NX car. So he can get the hammer down, use those tyres to his advantage, and really try and reel in the drivers in front. Problem for him, of course, is that those leaders that he was racing against before his mistake on the exit of turn 11 are just pulling away at the front of the field. I mean, last lap for Thompson and McEwen, a 41.5, 41.4. Jack Sedgwick, 41.9, his last lap.
Yeah, Thompson and McEwen still have the edge on the pace on the whole field by the tune of about 3 or 4 tenths at the moment, which is quite a significant margin, and that's with them pretty much driving within themselves, I would say. So Thompson and McEwen are beginning to appear as the kind of, favourites for this race. I honestly could not decide between the pair of them at the moment because they are so closely matched, and neither giving way to any, to the other. The only thing we could add into that discussion, though, Paul, is that Ross McFarlane, Jack Sedgwick can't fuel save. That's taking new tyres. He doesn't have that strategical option. But the only thing is that Ross McFarlane is running to a lap time, running to a fuel number, and trying to play his way into this race through cunning and strategy.
Yeah, because he's 12 seconds off, isn't he? 12 and a half seconds off of the race lead. Yeah. Now the pit stop itself was around about 8-9 seconds longer. Yeah, so he has lost a little bit of time on the race leaders there. If he can get to Philip Koenig and get a little bit of his draft, that'll help Ross McFarlane, I feel, in his pursuit of this race. I'm just getting notification that Kevin Kittleman has had an issue out there on track down at the carousel. Yellow flag's coming up on my personal track map here, but staying nice and green here for the time being. And this little duel, I said duel, this little four-way battle is
a double duel.
Yeah, double duel indeed. A duel squared. No, anyway.
We do crack each other up, don't we? Nobody else, just ourselves.
But this has been really intriguing to watch, this one, because Reece Carroll pulling out. He wants to get in the inside of Adam Watson. We saw on the last lap, Reece Carroll went very defensive on Paul Webster going into the carousel.
Now, what you saw there was Reece Carroll using the extra 5 horsepower that you get from wearing a pair of 3M sim racing gloves. That extra bit of purchase on the wheel just allows, just gives you the confidence, gives the car that little bit of extra speed. Get your pair on the 3M website.
We have lost Jack Belton.
Worn by Team Mad touring car superstar Paul Smith.
I don't know about superstar, but Jack Belton has retired from the
race winner at Mid-Ohio. Thank you very much.
Without even realising it. But
so modest.
Jack Belton is out of this race. He's retired. We have actually, it's been quite a car breaker as this track, to be fair. We've lost Andy Gilmore, Graham Sesford, who was upside down in his year one car. Welcome to the series, Graham. Oh, now here's what's happened to Jack Belton. Oh, no. Oh, and he found Kevin Kittleman. That's what happened to Belton.
Dear. There was a free kick of a pun there, but I'm trying to weed myself off them. Poor old Jack Belton. That was unlucky, and but not what you want to see. That is the thing here at Watkins Glen. There is quite a lot of blind corners, and the blind corners are all quite fast corners as well. So if you come around the corner and there's a car in your path, there isn't a great deal of time to react.
Salem Senturk is onto pit road, so let's see what's happened with him. As that was Leon Penn, wasn't it? No, it wasn't. Michael Avdoka just dropping back 2 places there. So Reece Carroll moving forward along with Adam Watson. So I think that'll be Avdoka just trying to do a little bit of fuel saving. And here is a view that you do not want to see. Blind corner, there's very little that you can do there. If you're Jack Belton,
none.
Because if you hit the brakes, I mean, you're having your own accident anyway. It's just a prayer that the other car reverses out the way.
Yeah, and even then, that's not the right thing for the other car to do. To be fair to Kevin Kittleman there, he wasn't making any kind of excessive or rash movements. So, it's just nobody's fault there.
Oh, Sedgwick!
Oh, okay. That's a big one. That's coming out the chute.
And those new tyres have not helped him in that situation there.
No, it was a big roll of the dice from Sedgwick, and I think he's decided to call it a day. That's a huge accident. Of course, he's already used his free repair, so that's game over as far as any kind of podium challenge is concerned. And I do wonder if that NX Ferrari might well stay in the pit lane. I'd be surprised if we see it back out again.
Yeah, I'll be amazed if we see that back out on track. But yeah, so Sedgwick out of this race here. Salem Centre, by the way, is still on pit road. Here we have a look. Oh, and it's another one of those Indy Autosport cars. And again, it's another blind corner, is that, down the chute, isn't it? You won't see that car on the inside.
No, you'll only see it when it's just too late. It is quite a sharp but quite fast. It's slightly cambered, the chute. Yeah, this gives you a great impression. Nothing. Oh, that. Yeah.
That was the 25. That was Jensen Adrianson's.
Oh,
my goodness, he has had everything happen to him, I think.
I didn't know a crash magnet was an optional extra on Audi R8 LMS.
I was about to say this has been a car breaker, and then we've just had about 4 different cars all end up out the race there because of that, because of me saying that. So yeah, we have had Andy Gilmore, Graham Sesforth, Jonathan Walker, Jesse Payne-Wilkins, Ben Gregory, Chris Malcharek, Jack Belton, Kevin Kittleman, Jensen Adriansons, Jack Sedgwick all retire from the race. Salem Tenturk is sat on pit road and has not moved for 2.5 minutes. Matt de Jong is actually back out there, but his number of laps down, and Simon Field as well. He was 9.5 minutes on pit road for him, and he's a number of laps down as well. So yeah, a number of cars coming a cropper out there. These two at the front, they've just been absolutely imperious. And in fact, Peter, look at their last lap time.
1,000th.
Yes.
1,000th of a second separating the two of them in the favour of Luke McEwen, for those who are counting. Oh, one of the team, is that Woodhouse again off?
No, it's Blake.
Oh,
that's Michael Blake.
Oh dear.
3rd place in AM in the championship. Oh, he'll feel so silly for that as well.
That didn't look like a big mistake, and the car just bit him there. Yeah, that's that again. It just shows you that the cars can be just a little bit uncomfortable. And of course, we're now about an hour into the race. The tyre will start to be going off. If for a lot of the drivers, very few of the drivers took tyres at the pit stop. So, now interestingly, Luke McEwen has spent the entirety of this stint on Josh Thompson's rear bumper. Thompson's clearly driving a strong, ever strengthening pace, but McEwen's been there all the way along. You would think, even without actively trying to fuel save, he will be using less fuel than Thompson, just naturally so. And will McEwen then jump ahead at the second pit stop and then drive away? It's as if we're waiting for McEwen to just deploy that ace card that he always seems to have up his sleeve.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be an intriguing, and that final pit stop is going to be so much. In fact, McEwen has moved ahead. You can see it on the top left of the timing tower there. So McEwen is ahead. You get the feeling that Josh Thompson backed out and went, "Go on, Luke. Time for you to lead for a while now."
Yeah, it's you would think they were teammates, honestly, the way that it's been kind of coordinated. Of course not, but this is where it's going to get interesting. And yeah, that was Josh made absolutely no effort to defend that. He, in fact, was quite happy, I think, to give the lead to Luke McEwen. Why is that? Well, now he can have Luke McEwen do the kind of hard work. If you're a cycling fan, Luke McEwen playing the role of domestique, now breaking the wind at the front of the peloton. But this is going to be interesting now, how both of these drivers handle getting through traffic, Paul, because this is an opportunity for either driver to actually make a breakaway. It always throws a spanner in the works, does the traffic.
Yeah, traffic is a big thing when it comes to endurance races, and as you say, this is the point where you can make or break races, and if you catch traffic at the wrong point on a track, you can really be affected. But Matt Woodhouse just getting out the way of your two leaders, so that's one less car to worry about to get past. But of course, the two in front of them as Philip Koenig pits. So the first of your leading drivers who pit, as through the S's they go side by side. That's Simon Neller and also the Parabellum car. And Luke McEwen saying, all right, I'll sweep through the middle of this one, and Josh Thompson follows him through. So they've managed to be able to work their way through that little bit of a gaggle of cars out there. So good work from them. Philip Koenig, as I say, first of your leaders, of course, he was a shorter pit stop. He was about a 20-second pit stop last time. So we expect that to be a lot longer this time around. Adam Volkovich, I would imagine, will be onto pit road soon in 4th place because his pit stop was about 20 seconds as well. But the two leaders have been there line astern and have been since the start of the race here, Peter, and we're really just sat around waiting for something to happen, aren't we, between these two?
Yeah, but there's always little hints. We're looking for clues. This is like reading a crime novel. I tell you what it's like. This is like watching a series of 24. You're thinking, what's going to happen next? There's lots of little subplots and little intrigues to think about here, and who is going to come out on top in this race. We really just do not know. And it almost looks here like Luke McEwen is trying to do what Josh Thompson did in the first stint, which is when eventually, Josh had enough pulling Luke along, like Luke had enough pulling Josh around in the first stop. As soon as the lead changed, the leading driver then tried to make a sort of surprise breakaway and tried to pounce while the other driver was maybe half asleep. Now Josh Thompson tried it, and Luke McEwen, stayed on his tail, and looks like Luke McEwen's trying to do the same now. And Josh Thompson, clinging on for now, especially as you go up this long drag up the back straight. It certainly makes it a little bit easier to hang on to the pace as well. But these two drivers almost running in tandem. They're almost dancing partners, if you like. That's actually making it quite difficult for Ross McFarlane in third to get anywhere close to matching their pace.
You say this is like 24. I'd say it's more like Midsummer Murders, if you ask me. Especially with John Nettles as well. It's more of a long-winded one. Spinner in the background there. Speaking of spinners, Alex Neller's had a spin as well coming onto pit road. You've got a pitter of Marvin Lesmulman onto the pit lane for his pit stop. But that's a big one. Almost up and over that one, and that was the 89 of Eric Haag. Somebody who's been in the wars here today.
Yes, yeah, it certainly has been in the wars for certain. Yeah. Well, if this is like an episode of 24, who's Jack Bauer? Is Luke McEwen Jack Bauer? Who's Ross Bigton?
As I say, I'm more of a Midsummer Murders person, but that's just me. More of a thinking person's crime trial.
Rather than guns and unnecessary oversteer.
Yeah, absolutely.
They love a bit of unnecessary oversteer in 24.
And always boxes. Why is there always the crashing through cardboard boxes? I don't know.
What did the boxes do to you?
Adam Volkovich headed on to pit road now here in this race. We'll try and get it back to the race coverage here. Yeah, so Volkovich then for GermanSimRacing.de. He's the latest one onto pit road to get his pit stop. So looking at the pit stop times, Marvin Lesmulman was a 32.5. Philip Koenig was 44.4. That sounds to me like either he got a speeding on pit lane penalty or he accidentally took a tyre or two.
Yes, that could well be the case. But Volkovich now, he's in pit lane in 12th position as well. It's a really fascinating battle here going on in just the top end of the top 10. Number 991, Adam Watson in 5th with the Doka in the Pure Sims Lamborghini right behind. Then it's Paul Webster. Paul Webster having a heck of a run in the 888 car, leading the Pro-Am class. This would be a real move in his championship campaign.
I'm going to steal a phrase from your RSL colleague, Mr. Hindorf, and say that the cars may be virtual, but the racing is very real out here today. And these drivers, they are absolutely on the limits of adhesion. They are so pushing themselves mentally as well to keep on the track at these speeds, lap after lap after lap, hitting your marks exactly right. In traffic as well, wondering what's that car doing? What's that car doing? Can I make a move here? What's Batley's strategy as well? You've got so much to think about, and to keep the pace up like these drivers do, Peter. It is absolutely just incredible what these drivers achieve.
It's marvellous. Yeah, it's a real privilege to call the action here on RaceSpotTV. The World GT Championship it's a fantastic series to commentate on, and the drivers really do give it their absolute all. I mean, at the front we've got two of the best virtual racers in the world, Luke McEwen and Josh Thompson, really putting on quite a masterclass. The only thing is, they're both putting on a masterclass at the same time. Who's gonna be the ultimate master? And looking at the times, Ross McFarlane, he's probably lost 6 or 7 seconds over this stint, and he just hasn't quite been able to match the pace of Luke McEwen or Josh Thompson. But to be honest, nobody has even got close to it. I mean, at the moment, both McEwen and Thompson 141.2 last time by. Ross McFarlane, he's half a second off that, but he's the next fastest driver.
Adam Watson a little bit slow through the turn, and that allows Michael Abdoka to move ahead. Yeah, so McEwen and Thompson, this is the time now for these two to get their final pit stop. 34.5 minutes remaining here in this race. It's week number 10 of the World GT Championship here on RaceSpotTV. Paul Smith, Pete Mackay on commentary, with Hugo Luis behind the scenes on production, and it is an absolute pleasure to have you all here joining us tonight. Two race leaders then on pit road. What do they do? McEwen, I would imagine, will be the first car to pull away from his pit stall. Josh Thompson waiting patiently. We're going to be looking at around about 25 seconds or so, I think, pit stop wise. He says that as that time goes by. Luke McEwen up onto the jacks. So too Josh Thompson. They're feeling the need to take tyres with half an hour to go here, Peter.
I'm flabbergasted. I am absolutely flabbergasted that both drivers require tyres. Now, will they go for 2? Will they go for 4? I do wonder. And does this play Ross McFarlane back into the game? Can Ross McFarlane, get it to the end without taking tyres? And will that be the strategical play that gets him back in the game? Whatever the case is, McEwen and Josh Thompson, they have done the same thing. So, has this been what McFarlane's been playing all along? Has he not done the same pace as Thompson and McEwen, because he's trying to make sure he gets these tyres all the way to the end without changing them? Well, I mean,
and I did get that little bit of feedback, didn't I, from the virtual pit road, that tyres are going to be a key factor in this race. If you can look after your tyres, the track, it's not necessarily that hot. It's 35.5 degrees Celsius out there, so it's not the hottest that I've ever seen here on iRacing, especially at Watkins Glen. I mean, I've seen it up in the 50s around here in the past. So tyres, that's going to be a big thing. Have they just been pushing that hard? And we don't think that they've been pushing either, do we, with Peter?
Yeah, I think they've both been pushing each other on. They've tried to stay controlled, but they haven't been able to help it. Luke McEwen and Josh Thompson. I think this could be a Ross McFarlane masterstroke here. We don't know yet. He hasn't come to pit road yet. We'll see. Let's wait and see. One of the German sim racing Audis way off the track. There was that Koenig? No,
that's the 666. Yeah, Marvin Lesmullen.
Oh dear. Oh dear. It's a big one.
It's going down the cup layout, isn't he? Almost there. Trying to get it back up and running. And he does so. Nice, safe rejoin to the track as well. So nicely done there, Marvin. But definitely, it's going to be, as you pointed out, it's going to be that intriguing thing of what does Ross do with his pit stop. Because I think with him taking that long pit stop, his first stop, I just do not feel that he can take tyres at his second stop.
No, I think he's definitely playing a. Well, let's wait and see then what Ross McFarlane is going to do. 61 years ago, and he's going 2 laps longer than McEwen or Thompson. So this is interesting as well. So he's definitely playing a different strategical game. But 61 years ago, another Scotsman, Innes Ireland, became the first Scotsman to win a World Championship Grand Prix. The last 4-cylinder engine to win a Grand Prix at that point as well. But it was the first win for Team Lotus. That was Innes Ireland, the former RAF paratrooper. Can Ross McFarlane, the man from Edinburgh in Scotland, can he emulate his countrymen here and actually pull off what could potentially be a huge shock result? Because McEwen and Thompson, they've just been in seemingly in another dimension tonight.
Would that have been in a Lotus 18?
I think so, yes. I think it was.
Yeah, because the 25 wasn't until the early 60s, was it?
Yeah, and then he found out he'd been sacked for Jim Clark when he at the London Motor Show. He found out in second-hand information. That's not how you want to find out you've been sacked.
No, not at all.
No.
And of course, Jim Clark went on to be Formula One world champion multiple times. And in my opinion, if you look at how he performed, in my opinion, the best driver in Formula One history.
No argument from me. That's for sure. Yeah, I think Jim was. Yeah, he was particularly special, and just the way he went about things. And now is Ross McFarlane going to come into pit road here, or I think he surely must be due very soon.
No. He took 32 seconds at his pit stop. Remember, he was 8 seconds longer in his pit stop last time in his first stop compared to Thompson and McEwen. So I think he's going to be another until about 16, 17 minutes to go. I think potentially. He did take a very long pit stop that first stop. Don't forget.
Now, interestingly, the gap between Luke McEwen and Josh Thompson, not only on the timesheet has widened, there is a car in between them, Chris van den Ness, who does owe us a pit stop, of course, but that's not what Josh Thompson needs. He doesn't want to see Luke, he doesn't want any air, and he just got past Chris van den Ness now as well. But Josh Thompson, by my reckoning, is 1.2 seconds off Luke McEwen now. Now, that is, you won't get very much slipstream effect there. So if McEwen puts in another couple of hot laps, Josh Thompson could potentially lose the scent of championship leader Luke McEwen and potentially lose the scent of a race victory here.
As Tim Perry comes onto pit road now for his second pit stop. So we're in that pit stop cycle now of drivers coming along, getting their second pit stop out of the way. And drivers just finding themselves basically, this is the beauty of these endurance races in the World GT Championship, is that you only find out how your strategy has gone until about 15 minutes to go in the race. It's this beautiful thing of how it all pans out. And I don't know why flashing your headlights then when you've got past him. He's not going to see that. Ross, maybe trying to use up some electrons and get the weight of the car down by all means necessary.
I don't know. Maybe just saying I'll flash my lights. That's me saying thank you. I don't know. Maybe thinking he was on the stream possibly. Who knows? But it's what we're used to see. Good mannerly driving from Lord Hedge, Adam Hedgecock, Mr. Fish Tank, as we've dubbed him.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be fair to him, Adam Hedgecock is in 21st at the moment. Does owe us a pit stop, as does one of his compatriots, Lars van Rijn, as well out there. So yeah, we've got this waiting stage once again. We're in that cycle. It's almost as if it's like if you've ever flown into Heathrow and you end up in the holding cycle. It's almost like that now. We're in that holding cycle waiting to land, and that's exactly what's happening with this pit stop cycle.
There's nothing worse than being in that holding cycle. Seatbelt sights are on, and then all of a sudden you need to use the bathroom. That's just land the plane, please. And then they're like,
when you're up there 30 minutes.
Yeah, and then you land, and they're like, oh, we're just in the queue. We're just waiting on someone coming to pull us to the terminal. Oh, the gate's not ready. I swear, I will. Yeah, and then you arrive and you go, oh, I'm in Heathrow. Oh, that's made the situation so much better. No.
You know, the one thing that confused me, I'm going to share this story now while we've got a bit of a chance to. Flying back from South Africa, so you've gone through security in South Africa, very tight security with airports, with all airports, and you've got a connecting flight at Heathrow. And what do they make you do?
Go through security.
Go through security.
Yeah.
Why? I've been through security.
I know.
I literally, I had 45 minutes from my plane landing to my next plane taking off, and I was rushing. Got there in the end, but you know, we've got a pit stop from Paul Webster, our top pro-am in this race, and it has been all race, it must be said. And he's finding himself onto pit road right now. Nice stopped, and yeah, that Porsche looking very good this week. Yeah,
and it's interestingly, Josh Thompson, well, we said he couldn't allow Luke McEwen to get away to lose that scent of the victory. Well, he hasn't. He has answered back really, really well. The gap had gone up to about 1.2 seconds. It's now down to just 0.2 of a second between Thompson and Luke McEwen. So they really are the cars to watch out for in this race. But where does Ross McFarlane factor into this to this equation? You would think with 24 minutes on the clock, there's no way that McFarlane could afford to take tyres unless he's absolutely forced to do so.
Well, if he does take tyres, he's guaranteed to not win the race.
Correct.
Absolutely, yes, guaranteed not to win. So he has. He's played his hand as. Here we go, Josh, moving ahead. No, I think, to be honest, to be fair, Luke, he doesn't need to worry about that at the moment, unless he's got some damage that he's picked up working through traffic or something. He doesn't need to panic about Josh making his way past. Ross McFarlane pits. He's pitted now. This is your race leader coming onto pit road. So where is he going to come out? And crucially, is he going to take any tyres? Those are the two big questions that we've got right now. McEwen and Thompson, they find themselves... Where are they out on track right now on my map? Well, there they are. They're just coming through the heel of the boot. They've got some lap traffic ahead. Yeah, that's not going to help them. Keep an eye on Ross McFarlane. Fuel only. He had to play that card.
Ross McFarlane, I think, has just played a strategical masterstroke here in this endurance race. He's the defending champion. They don't give away those number one boards for free. And he's trying everything in his playbook, and it's an extensive playbook, as Ross McFarlane's in. He's trying everything in the book to try and vanquish Luke McEwen's challenge. Luke McEwen has definitely been the driver with the optimum pace all season. But, I mean, what can you say about this young man, Paul? He is just... he has used everything at his disposal to stay in that championship fight, and he just does not say die.
Just when you think you have all the answers, Ross McFarlane changes the questions, and my goodness, has this been an enthralling race so far. 22 and a half minutes remaining in this race. The question is...
lead. He's got a 21-second lead. Where did that come from?
The question for me here is... Can he hold on to those tyres? Because if they get to a certain point, you just lose all grip. It's like, you know, falling off the edge of the cliff, as Formula One like to say.
They do love a bit of cliff falling, don't they? Yes, they do. Indeed. Well, the last few takers for service with 22 minutes on the clock. But 22 minutes on the clock, where does that put us in terms of laps to go? Oh, my maths isn't that good, I must be honest.
About 14 minutes? 14 laps?
14 laps. So 40. So right. So we need basically about a second and a half a lap delta difference between Josh Thompson and Luke McEwen and Ross McFarlane. So they're lapping a second and a half quicker. That at this level, that is an enormous margin. But Thompson and McEwen have fresh tyres on, so if they've got everything at their disposal to be able to do that. And McFarlane, he's just got to keep it smooth and hope that his pace is enough.
Well, our timing tower's going a bit crazy because of the pit stops, but also at the lead as well. Adam Watson and Leon Penn have been scrapping away. You can see those two names swapping at the top of the timing tower around here. So those two have been at loggerheads with each other. They both owe us a pit stop, along with Chris van der Nest. Those are the three drivers who are yet to make their final pit stop in this race, and then we'll be able to give you a little bit of a rundown here at this stage of the race. Once we've had that final pit stop, we'll be able to give you the how things stand right now. As here we go, Josh Thompson making moves on Michael Evdoka, forcing Evdoka wide a little bit through the chase, but crucially for Thompson, he's got McEwen behind him. McEwen, he wants to get past Evdoka here, because Evdoka, who's his teammate? It's Ross McFarlane.
Well, it's better to have allies than enemies out there, that's for sure. That's where the team... Oh, and it...
Oh, a little bit of rubbing.
Oh, dear. To be very fair, Evdoka did kind of shut the door very late there on McEwen, and McEwen, I think, will be pretty irked about that. All fair in love and war, as they say, but... oh yeah, look, McEwen, and this is where McEwen's got to just take his medicine. He's just got to just keep it under control. He doesn't. The thing is, Paul, is Luke McEwen does not need to win this race. A podium would be more than satisfactory in terms of his championship lead. He's got nearly 50-point lead in the championship. A podium would be fine. Another penalty hanging over him, which of course we believe he has a qualifying ban for the next round from previous penalties. He doesn't need that added to.
Oh, and he's come out behind Adam Watson as well. So, oh, there's contact. Watson's around. Has he kept that out the wall? I think he has, you know. My goodness, the car's in this with one piece. Watson, well, he was sideways. He was almost 90 degrees to the track. How on earth has he saved that?
Right, we're get Hugo to rename on the tire. Adam Watson is now known as Francois Delacour. He's Francois Delacour, Adam Delacour Watson. Wow. Well, let's have a look at it then. So there's McEwen, and there you go.
Oh, that's ambitious.
It's more than ambitious. I think he maybe just rubbed it, but we'll let him away with it. Wowee. Well done, Adam Watson. And also nothing that poor Adam there, he's holding his line, he's going as fast as he can, and he's going at a decent pace, and McEwen
he's
just nerfed him.
He's fresh out the pits, so he's going to be a little bit slower, isn't he?
Yeah,
because of him being fresh out the pits.
There was nothing going to happen there.
Yeah.
And what on earth was the need to do that? In my mind, I'm sorry if I'm being blunt. That is just really silly.
And that's that inexperience, isn't it? It's that youthful exuberance. 16-year-old. Let's never forget that.
He's got to polish it off a little bit, and you're there.
If he could dial that in, you can make a quick driver win championships. It's easier to get somebody who's quicker, a little bit wild. You can rein them in a little bit. It's easier to do that than to get somebody who's maybe slower to try and get them up to speed. I'll never be a champion.
I don't crash very often, but I'll never be a champion.
Well, David Baker, he's in the unenviable position of being behind Adam Watson now. Watson's tyres will be absolutely screaming at him because of the heat that he got put through them then. Look at that Lamborghini. Oh, V10 engine, so easy.
Yeah, you got to set the move up perfectly. That's how you do it. You set the move up through the S's and then get the run up towards the outer loop there. And that again puts another big question mark over Luke McEwen's championship challenge. Now, yes, he may well finish on the podium here, possibly. But then if Ross McFarlane wins and McEwen's got more penalties, and that's kind of been the story. He's been fast, but he has had the attention of the stewards at most rounds. And is that going to be the spanner in the works on his championship campaign? Who knows? It's speaking very selfishly, Paul, for us and our viewers on RaceSpotTV, it's making a heck of a finish to this championship.
I mean, it's great for us. We just sit there and rub our hands with glee with all of this. But look at that. Thompson's now up to second place ahead of Reece Carroll, who we've barely mentioned all race, have we? Reece has just been quietly going about things. Up 6 places in this race, same as Michael Evdoka here. Leon Penn's up 7 places, so a number of Pure Sims drivers doing a very, very good job out there.
Certainly is. Yeah, 16 minutes to go in at this race, and Josh Thompson has got big company here from Reece Carroll. Reece Carroll's jinking back and forward here, and that straight line speed in the Lamborghini. Is he going to be able to get it past Josh Thompson here as they go up side by side now into the outer loop? And Reece Carroll, he's trying to hook it around, and Thompson says, no, you don't. And Evdoka, well, for Pure Sims Esports, he fancies a little bit of a go at this as well. But Thompson has vanquished that challenge for now. But that gap, this traffic has been critical. 21 seconds, the gap still stands. That's what the gap was when Ross McFarlane exited pit lane. It has not gone down.
Yeah, being able to keep up that pace, it's certainly been a good going so far. I mean, you look at Ross McFarlane's last lap of 41.7. Reece Carroll, respecter of no egos, he just wants as best position as possible out there. Leon Penn's just dropped down a place to Adam Volkovich. So Volkovich on that recovery drive. Overall in this race, Volkovich, bearing in mind that he had to start from the back after losing connection to the server right as we were gridding up, started from the back of the field. He's only lost 3 places in this race. I will say, the tip of the hat to Adam Volkovich in this one.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely justified. There is what's happened to Tim Perry, number 83. Oh, just lost it. Oh, that's a new one. That reminds me of that scene in Too Fast, Too Furious when they're having the race to the guy's house in Miami.
I'll be honest, I've never seen it.
You're missing out. There's a brilliant Evo 8 in it, actually. It's really nice. I had the same sparkle gear stick on the Renault Clio.
Here's Reece Carroll to the inside. Michael Evdoka's closing up as well. Thompson, he is getting tested here. You wouldn't think that Thompson's got the newer tyres, would you?
No, you definitely wouldn't. And it just shows you, maybe the Lamborghini is the car that just nurses the tyres better and keeps them in condition. I mean, Ross McFarlane, this is what a measured drive to be able to keep that pace all the way through and to, save the fuel, to save the tyres. It takes such discipline to do that, to not be tempted to just push all the time. And yeah, I mean, actually, he's got, with all the hassle that Josh Thompson is getting, McFarlane's lead is actually increasing. So yeah, he's the. I saw someone in our RaceSpotTV chat saying he's the tyre whisperer. He certainly is. He's also he's Mr. Stealth as well. He's stealthed his way into this really commanding position with 13 minutes to go. He is right in the driving seat to win this race.
Oh, Luke showing his nose into the penultimate corner. Not the place that you would traditionally go for a move is at turn number 10. And Michael Evdoka took the track sneaker slipstream off of that boosted car. I don't know, but Reece Carroll has dropped back now, so I think Josh Thompson has finally seen to Reece here. He's 7/10 of a second ahead, and he's got a little bit of help in front of him as Josh with lap traffic, or that lap traffic just moving out of the way. That's a very, I can tell you now, that's Lee Berridge that they're going to come past here, and his car doesn't appear to be in one piece either for Lee, so not good look for Lee towards the end of this race. Just looking at our timing and scoring, and we've only got 19 cars left on the lead lap here. And Chris van der Ness, this is somebody who usually goes well in these endurance events. Yeah, that's not the part of the track you meant to go on there, Chris.
Oh dear, yeah, that is a bit of a wild one there for Chris.
Oh.
Is he lost? Yeah, easy to get lost over there. Now look at that, Evdoka in the Pure Sims Lamborghini there, holding a very, very defensive line, making life as difficult as possible for Luke McEwen. You would expect Evdoka, is he going to try and go hard on the brakes here as well there? little bit of contact as well, making Luke McEwen's life incredibly difficult here, as well as they go side by side now into the penultimate corner. Evdoka holding a really defensive line, and McEwen trying to hook it around the outside, then getting the inside for the final corner. And Evdoka's not giving it up in a hurry. Now, the question is, can Evdoka return the favour there and try and throw a move here down into turn 1? Here he goes, he's going to try it. Hits the brakes, not quite. Not quite, but watch though for the run towards the outer loop.
I think it's the tyres. I think the fresh tyres are showing that with Luke. The way that he was able to hold around the outside of turn 10 and to keep that line, I think that's the fresh tyres there, and it's showing. With the fact that, you know, Josh Thompson has been able to pull away now from Reece Carroll, the fresher rubber is helping, but Evdoka, I think he's got to admit defeat on that one. He's not going to be able to outbrake that car.
No, there's certainly nothing wrong with the straight line speed of that Pure Sims Lamborghini, mind you. But now it's McEwen now starting to really push on and try and break away from Evdoka, because I think he knows just how much problems Evdoka's caused him. So he's trying to make sure he's clear. But can he catch Reece Carroll by the end of the race? It's the gap at the moment between Carroll and McEwen is 1.3 seconds. So McEwen's got a little bit of work to do here. And Paul, do correct me if I'm wrong. Is that 3M car? Is that a Pure Sims car underneath? Is that a badge exercise? Yes.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, 3M. The Pure Sims have provided drivers for 3M, apart from Jonathan Walker, of course, who unfortunately retired earlier on in this race. But yeah, it's definitely a Pure Sims driver in that car is Reece Carroll. Oh, there was some smoke there coming on to start and finish straight, and there was a car facing the wrong way. I think that's James Whitehouse, because he's showing as stopped on my track map.
Not been a good day at the office for James Whitehouse. And that's someone not driving.
Is that again? Is that again into the end of the pit? Well, I think
into the bins before. On the edge of the wheelie bins on the edge of the pit road. That's a very unhappy man.
Avoid them. Yeah, he's not happy. The Springbok shake of the head. Yeah, he's not happy. And look at this now. Is Adam Volkovic?
It is.
It is, and he's making the move around the outside. I said that he's shown an improvement in his pace as Adam this season, especially into the second half of the season. And there he is through a Michael Evdoka. I think Evdoka has just used those tyres up too much, and they're screaming enough.
You have to say, as a team player, Evdoka played his part there. He made it as difficult as possible for McEwen. He sacrificed his own pace, actually, to make McEwen's life more difficult. Now, if that sounds dirty, it's not. That is motor racing. That's what, if you've got strong cars in the game, then you can do so. And if Luke McEwen wanted to invite some of his Team Redline buddies along, then he could. If they get an entry, they could do the same. So that's what it is. As long as it doesn't get to the area of dirty. There was one move, I would say, where Evdoka was maybe a little bit over the line, but there's a lot on the line here as well. But what can you say about Ross McFarlane at the front of the field? That gap still 21 seconds. Josh Thompson has not been able to reduce that gap since coming out the pits, but mostly because of the traffic he's had to deal with. But even so, there still isn't an enormous difference in pace. Ross McFarlane, this has been we said that McEwen and Thompson were putting on a master class. It's been a master stroke from Ross McFarlane of strategy.
I can tell you now, Adam Watson has had something happen out there, because he's dropped down to 10th place now. Something's happened to him on this last lap. In fact, his last lap was 150.2. So yeah, something definitely has happened to him on that last lap to lose out the best part of 8-9 seconds. And here we get to see what it is. Oh, it's a Porsche spinning at the heel. Name a more iconic duo. Because we saw that earlier, didn't we, with Matt Woodhouse?
Yeah, we did. And Adam Watson maybe just he's more thinking about putting his entry in for the World Rally Championship after that. And just unbelievable save coming through the S's earlier on. I think that could well make the the iRacing. I don't know, will that be a top 10 or a not top 10? Probably top 10, I would say. After that movement, he's still in the top 10 at the moment, though. Speaking of, 6.5 minutes to go. Ross McFarlane a 20.5 second lead. I tell you what, if you went off to maybe make a cup of tea and have your dinner and come back half an hour later, you would look at the screen going, "What? What happened there?"
Yeah, you certainly would. I think Luke McEwen's
no incidents involved either.
Yeah, I think Luke McEwen's going to possibly have Reece Carroll, by the way. And Josh Thompson's dropping down the order. What's happened to Josh? Oh, my goodness. Yeah. That's at turn number 1. Every time, every endurance race, something seems to happen to Josh Thompson.
Oh, no. So what's happened to the Manxman there? He was running so strong. And how bizarre. That is bizarre. We need another look at that, because it looked like he was just exiting the corner and then got completely spooked by the Evo SR Ferrari.
Well, I mean, for me, if he'd have kept it on, if he was keeping it on track limits on the exit of turn number 1, then
you couldn't
he wouldn't have been worried about that. Look, here we are on board. So coming in, onto the brakes, turning, he's letting it run out wide. Oh, he's reacted one way and then another, and that's just unsettled the car over the bump, hasn't it?
I have to say, Josh has been super unlucky there, because that's I'm playing devil's advocate to the track limits discussion, as McEwen now goes up in, or does he come up into second position? Not yet. Reece Carroll's making him work for it again. 4 minutes and 55 seconds to go. I didn't see which Evo SR Ferrari it was, but the drivers know that part of the circuit is used every single time by every driver. So to drive straight back onto that racing line, it is the racing line. That's not on, and Josh really unlucky there.
I said I wouldn't carry on talking about it so much. Well, what we can say now is, into the final 5 minutes of the race, it is Ross McFarlane who leads this race by 24.25 seconds over Luke McEwen, who's managed to work his way back up into second place, making that move on Reece Carroll, who's in third place at the moment. But Adam Volkovic is not too far back. He could potentially be one to look out for towards the end. Mark Hutchinson has managed to work his way up into 11th place to be the leading Pro-Am in this race. Paul Webster had pretty much led all the way through this race, and Hutchinson has got himself into the lead of Pro-Am ahead of Webster, who's in 12th. And Brian Krohn, we've not spoken about Brian Krohn, it must be said. 15th place, gain of 11 places, third place in Am. That's a really good Am podium for him. You're top at Pro-Am, should I say. Speaking of Am, Lars van Rijn is currently leading the Am standings right now over Adam Hedgecock, 22nd and 23rd respectively. And the third placed Am is Nick Salapoutis. So Nick Salapoutis, a driver who's just been working away. He's been working away, trying to improve and try to get that bit quicker and improve his consistency. Third place right now in this race in Am.
Yeah, really good from Nick Salapoutis. Had, as you say, a difficult start to the season. He's worked away at his pace, and that's just reward, I would say, to get an Am class podium here at Watkins Glen. A tough hour and 45 minutes around here. It's you really cannot rest. It's big commitment corners all the way through. But Luke McEwen, well, I mean, what can you say? I mean, it looked like he was on for third place there, and then Josh Thompson's mistake. Well, that's just handed a couple of extra points, which could potentially be crucial when we get to the end of the championship.
It certainly is big, isn't it? That's been big for his championship, and moved himself to the front. Those fresher tyres, I think in this last 10-15 minutes, those fresher tyres have started showing their edge, haven't they? And everyone else's cars just all fallen off the edge of adhesion, that is for sure. We've got a boosted Virage car on screen right now. I believe this is Alex Nella with Brian Krohn behind him in, this is 13th, 14th, and Pete Harron behind in 15th. Managed to keep the car on the track, Century Sim Racing, And currently 15th place, looking to move forward in that Lamborghini. It's Lamborghini, Porsche and Lamborghini as they're heading up the hill towards the carousel once again. Brian Kroon pretty much nowhere to go, and that means that Pete looks to the outside, no move forthcoming, but we're getting towards the end here, about a lap and a half of this race remaining.
Yeah, nearly there for Ross McFarlane. It's been a super drive.
Oh!
It's a spin for the number 67 of Alex Neller. Biff backwards into the wall. And both Brian Kroon and Pete Harrod doing a good job there to avoid Alex. And luckily he went into the soft bit of the wall. And hopefully he'll be able to get that boosted Lamborghini to the finish line.
Slight bit of rear wing damage, but it doesn't look too bad. By the way, here is our race leader, Ross McFarlane, the tyre whisperer himself. And he's got, I do reckon we've got one more lap to go here, because he's at the tour right now. And we've got 40 seconds remaining. So, yeah, we should get one more lap out of this race.
He might back off here, though. He's got enough time behind him. I think he might back off. He's backing off, I think.
Well, the gap's not coming down too... Oh, it is coming down a little bit, but it's not.
I think he's going to back off and not take a rest through this traffic.
I mean, if he's smart, then yeah.
It's going to be very tight. He is smart. He's proven that.
Well, he's got Nick Salaputis right in front of him. Comes around. Yeah, the time's going to run out here. So Ross McFarlane then, last corner. Around he comes, he'll see the checkered flag. Barney is waving the checkered flag for Ross McFarlane, winner here in the final endurance round of the championship here this season. Brilliant result for him. We'll look back though, because Luke McEwen, I reckon, will be the Enduro Cup winner with that second place. He had a big margin in the Enduro Cup, and he should be the leading Enduro Cup driver in this one. Mark Hutchinson, where is he right now? He's currently in 11th place, is Mark. He's your leading Pro-Am. And he should be coming round. He's coming round the heel of the boat right now, heading towards the end of the lap. Lars van Rijn should cross the line as your AM winner as well. And in fact, he has done so and crossed the line. Here's Mark Hutchinson then coming around the final corner to win Pro-Am here today. He'll be delighted with that, getting the result over Paul Webster. That's crucial for his championship over Paul. First and second in the Pro-Am standings, first and second in the Pro-Am standings in this race. Well, that's a wall. You used it, but Brian Kroon across the line gets a Pro-Am podium. Congratulations to him. Pete Harrod behind, flash of the headlights, 14th place for him. And Nella and Les Mulman, the final two cars to come across the line. Well, Peter, what a race. What a drive that was from Ross McFarlane, and what a strategy call as well.
Absolute masterstroke. Yeah, fully deserved. And, you know, it's all very well having the right strategy, but you have to execute it and you have to stick to it to the letter. And that takes such restraint and discipline. And Ross McFarlane has shown why he's the defending champion, and he's doing everything he can to keep that championship alive. McEwen finishing in second makes that a little bit more difficult, but thoroughly deserved win there for Ross McFarlane. So clever, and kept us guessing all the way to the flag.
So here we are then. We'll be able to give you your results in just a moment's time here. Of course, provisional results. Stewards do look at things post-event. So this is as they cross the line. Ross McFarlane then with a 24.8 second lead over Luke McEwen in the end. So the Pure Sims Esports driver beating the Team Redline driver. Reece Carroll in third place for 3M. Good result for him on the podium for them. Adam Volkovic, good recovery drive from him to finish in fourth place ahead of Michael Evdoka and Leon Penn, both for Pure Sims Esports. That's a really good result for the Pure Sims Esports team. Josh Thompson, seventh place in the end, able to recover and get going again. Seventh place ahead of David Baker, with Philip Koenig and Adam Watson rounding out your top 10. Mark Hutchinson then is your top Pro-Am, winning that one over Paul Watson by 8 seconds with Paul Webster second place in Pro-Am. I'll get absolutely roasted for that in Team Mad Chat. Brian Crone, brilliant result for him for the Indy Autosport Red Team. Third place in Pro-Am, 13th overall, beating Pete Harrod, a former champion, who finished in 14th ahead of Alex Nella. Marvin Lesmorman, 16th ahead of Tom Brown. Brennan Stacey in 18th. Your top Am driver was not Andy Archer. He's a Pro-Am now, as Christian Rose is in 20th place. Your top Am driver is Lars Van Rijn, finishes 21st. Good result for him, with Adam Hedgecock, another Am driver, second place in Am, 22nd overall in this race ahead of Chris Van der Ness, Tim Perry, Eric Haag and Nick Salaputis. Without quickly checking my my results and my records here, I do believe that's his first Am podium there for the Team Year 1 driver. 1 lap down overall. 2 laps down, it's Simon Nella, Michael Blake, Mark Woodhouse, Martin de Jong, 3 laps down as well. Did finish the race though, crucially. Simon Field, Lee Berridge and James Whitehouse all 31st, 32nd, 33rd, and then drivers who definitely did not finish. Jack Sedgwick, Selim Centre, Jensen Adriansons, who had one of the most eventful days out there here today in 36th. Kevin Kittleman, Jack Belton, Christian Malshrek and Ben Gregory. With Jesse Payne-Wilkins, Jonathan Walker, Graham Sesford, who doesn't seem 2 minutes ago that it was on his roof, and Andy Gilmore rounding out your results. Wow, Peter, that was one heck of a race out there. A real thinking man's race there. And Ross McFarlane seemed to outthink them all.
He did. Yeah, he absolutely did. He surprised us all. We didn't expect it. I think the first surprise was when Luke McEwen and Josh Thompson both went up on the jacks to take tyres with half an hour to go. I was thinking, okay, we've got a race on here. I did not expect Ross to have such a big advantage, and for that advantage not to be reduced with fresh tyres on both Josh Thompson and Luke McEwen's car. Now, you could make the point that Josh Thompson, it was the BMW is a big car, so it uses its tyre. But remember, Luke McEwen's in the Lamborghini, just like Ross McFarlane. Yeah. Ross McFarlane was just the most clever driver tonight and fully deserves that victory. Intellect sometimes wins the day, and today was one of those days.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll just keep an eye for if we do get any of our drivers here to come and speak to us after the event. It would be great to hear from our race winner, because my goodness, I'd love to hear the thinking in that strategy call there. And we've seen it happen before, haven't we, from Ross? We've seen him really play off those really sort of quiet, all of a sudden, I'm there at the front of the field in these endurance races.
Yeah, it really is fascinating to watch, and it shows you that endurance racing particularly, it's not always about being the absolute blasting fast lap all the time, but he was quick when he needed to be. It's not as if he was miles off the pace. He wasn't. He was just deploying the right pace at the right time and managing that gap beautifully and playing out the strategy. It also hints to me, Paul, that both Ross and his Pure Sims team put in a lot of preparation, because you can be sure that was not done on a whim. That was done having proven concept during the week. Of course, we've had 2 weeks since the last round. I think that was well rehearsed.
Yeah, it certainly did look like it, for sure. I do want to also mention Mark Hutchinson. He was basically second all the way through in terms of Pro-Am in that race to Paul Webster. Final stint, gets ahead, gets the Pro-Am win. That's really crucial for Mark to further extend his championship lead in Pro-Am.
Yeah, he's had a great season, hasn't he, his Mark in that Evo SR Ferrari. Really deserves it. And of course, he's one of the easier drivers to pick out on the stream, with the big yellow smiley face, almost like a Lego man helmet that he's got on there as well. Mark's had a super year. Evo SR Ferraris in general have been really strong, and Mark put in a real strong case for that Pro-Am title. The next 2 weeks, I'm sure he'll be putting in lots of miles to make sure that he's absolutely ready to get the job done and get the car over the line.
And it's also worth mentioning as well, your top Am, Lars Van Rijn, went under the radar all race. We didn't really see Lars out there, did we? Out in the entirety of the broadcast, just quietly went about his business, and sometimes that's the best approach that you can take to these endurance races.
I think especially in the AM class, definitely. I think if you have a clean, smooth run in the AM class, it's likely that you'll get a strong result in that class, because it is the class where we see more attrition, see more cars falling out. And yeah, if you can just have no mistakes, run your pace, and have the right strategy, you will be thereabouts. And that's exactly what Lars van Rijn did. If you're, like you say, if you're winning your race and you're not getting much camera time, it means you're doing nothing wrong. It means you're just doing it perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that was the final endurance round of the World GT for this season. Next week, it's the final feature round of the season at the Hockenheim Ring. That's a week today, so do make sure you join us for that. And of course, it's the last round where you can actually drop a score, because the final week of the season, the points count out there in that championship fight. But what a dramatic race that was. Plenty of thrills and spills, but Ross McFarlane is the one who came out on top here today. Until next week, from Peter Mackay, Paul Smith and Hugo Louise here at RaceSpotTV, it's goodbye.